So, again, over 2 decades in EMS. I started in Jefferson County. I've worked at multiple services, both third service and fire-based in Louisville. I was the director of Henry County EMS for a period of time, and now I am with Norton Children's Hospital. I got into my role at Children's through being a PEC, and then through Morgan Skaggs at K-Beams. I have no disclosures of conflict of interest. The slides you're going to see today, a few of them are my own, most of them are not. They are shared through my buddy Nick Salzman, who is the program director for the STARS program I'm going to talk to you about. He is at Cardinal Glennon Hospital in St. Louis. He is also a paramedic by trade with his background and was one of the founding medics who started the STARS program. So this talk represents my thoughts and opinions, and it's not those of anyone else or any other organization. Again, the slides are from Nick and the official STARS program. So the kids you're going to see, these pictures were shared with permission from their parents to be in this program. And if I was Nick, I could tell you all of their names and their conditions and all of their stories, but I'm not Nick. So we're going to talk about STARS is a program that we are working very diligently to bring to Kentucky. Currently, the program is in St. Louis and most of southern Missouri, heading up towards the northern parts, making its way there slowly, and in Fort Myers out of Golisano Children's Hospital. This is a program it's really for EMS. It's hospital-based for EMS and for our medically complex kids. So there's kids that have trachs, the kids that are on vents at home, on LVADs at home, kids with seizure disorders that are not controlled by our conventional meds we keep on the ambulances, that really need some special meds and some special protocols to take care of them. So it's just a little bit of list of what who are the programs designed for. Wrong way. So some common challenges for EMS treating these kids. Again, first off, we get our training, right, as paramedics. How much training do we give to paramedics initially for pediatrics in the grand scheme of it? Anybody get a whole bunch, or what's that? Right, like, so we're not get a whole lot of pediatric training, I'd like to say, in the first place, but really ever, right? It's kind of thrown in maybe at the end of a lecture. It's, hey, we got to meet these 2 requirement hours for this year, so we'll do this, and everybody will trudge through it, and we'll just kind of say we did it. The downside to that, right, is then you're that medic or your crew shows up on a scene and they walk into basically a home hospital room and they all go, crap, I should have called in today. Why wasn't that other truck closer? And we're met with that kid that we don't know anything about. Or hopefully your crew is on the way out of the station and the other crew goes, oh, dude, that's that kid that's got the XYZ 47 long diagnosis. And by the way, he's on like 4 drips and a vent. So, hey, good luck. We'll see you after lunch. Meet us at Dairy Queen, right? So our crews don't get any kind of real information. Maybe you're getting the updates from your region on when an LVAD patient comes out, but you're not getting any information on when these kids come to your ride areas. We depend on our parents to be medical professionals, really, when we go to these scenes. I was always told as a paramedic, hey, talk to the mom, talk to dad, whoever's there. They're going to be your best source of information. They'll take care of them on a daily basis so they can help you get through that, which is great. They probably are the most knowledgeable. However, they're also a parent. And I look back now in all the years that I've made these types of runs, and I think, how many times did I take that person out of a situation where they were stressed out, probably exhausted and now scared for their child. And I'm asking him to be a clinician and tell me, hey, what's his history? And I need you to tell me what he's really normally like. And what have you done for him today? And all the things, when they probably just want to be a mom for a minute and have a little freak out, right? And we're really taking something away from them in that area. But so again, we get these kids and we have no idea what we're really supposed to be doing for them. So typically the crews walk in and go, holy crap, let's throw them on a stretcher and let's drive real fast and hope that when we get there, the hospital just takes them real quick and we don't have to worry about this. So what is STARS? How is STARS going to help this situation? So STARS is a comprehensive hospital-based system. So all of this is going to start in the hospital. Once these children are identified, and we'll talk here in a minute about how they can be identified, because they can come to the STARS program from multiple different ways. So once that child is identified, we at the hospital will take on their case. Parents have to consent to it. We don't just bring them in and start sharing their information. So the parents will consent to this. And at that point, we work the hospital team, excuse me, the hospital team, the patient's doctor, and we write a care plan for this child. Care plan includes demographics, your normal, what's the kid allergic to, what are his meds, what's his history. And when the kids have those crazy 47 long diagnoses, STARS will have a section on their care plan that tells you exactly what that is. We don't expect all the paramedics to know, like, oh yeah, studied that one last week, I know all about it, let me tell you, right? So we're going to include all of this in their care plan. Their care plan will also include sections on normal sets of vitals, what they are when they come in for checks on good days. It will include a picture of the child on a good day. So you can look at this on the way there and know, okay, little Sammy looks like this. And then we walk in and you go, little Sammy does not look like that. We need to figure out what's going on and do some work. The rest of the care plan will go on to tell you about expected or anticipated medical emergencies that we know he's probably going to have, and that here's what that will look like, and here could be the cause of those. And then after that, it will have special protocols. If Sammy has some special medicines that mom keeps that you're now allowed to give, and it's nothing, we're not going to ask ever to go out of scope. We've talked very deeply with Dr. Lubbers about the program and what it entails. At no time will be asking your medics to exceed their scope of practice. And I think one of the biggest is trait changes. If we can save a kid from having to be drug out of their home, taken to the waiting room of a children's hospital where there's a bunch of actual really sick kids, and then exposed to all those germs. We want to stop. We want to avoid that, right? We don't want to make the kid sick because he needed a trait change. If we can train people up to do it, and they can just do it there, it saves family, the bills, the rides, the stress of moving these children. So the rest of that care plan will walk you through, what does this child need if, then do this. And it's basically like a step 1, step 2, step 3. So EMS will have access to this plan and will be able to have the plan on their way to the run. It'll come through dispatch, so we'll have to get dispatch on board. But when a parent or whoever calls in for the child, they'll say, hi, we have an emergency. My child is STARS patient 15. And dispatch will pull that up, and as they're sending your crew all of the information on where the run is and what parent called in, they're also going to send you, your crew, a link. And it's a secure link Your crew will have access to it for 2 hours, and then the link is no longer live. And during that 2-hour time, they can go back and look at that link as many times as they need to. But again, what this gives them is that ability to prepare on the way to the run. And we know that when we prepare for that, we're giving them confidence, and we're empowering them to be the paramedics that we've trained them and taught them to be. So the other nice thing about this, especially for our rural services, is every hospital in the state will have access to this. And so if you're out in a rural area and you're really not that close to the children's hospital, you'll be able to call and talk to your local facility. They can look this up. You can tell them, hey, we've made it to step 3 with little Sammy. Is it okay if we bring him to you? Can you all handle him from here? And then that hospital can look on the same care plan and say, okay, if you've done these things, then yes or no. Yes, you can stop here with him. We can take him from here. He doesn't have to go all the way to one of the children's hospitals. And again, the idea is to keep these kids as close to home as possible, right? It's a huge burden if you've got to go halfway across the state to get care for your child. So this is a little bit about the database. And again, there's numbers. Right now, the last we talked to them at Cardinal Glennon, I think they were up to 850 kids across the 3 hospitals. And that'll matter here in just a second when I tell you. So our goal here in Kentucky is to bring on both of the children's hospitals at the same time. We felt like if we were going to bring on Norton Children's, then we wanted to find a way to bring Kentucky Children's also and just cover the whole state at once. What that will allow is that if there's a kid from Paducah who comes to Lexington to watch the UK game that he's always wanted to come to, he's still covered. So his parents can pick up the phone, call 911 from a Lexington hotel and still say, my kid is STARS patient 15. I saw your hand up. Yes. So the database is one database for any hospital. So Cincinnati is not participating yet. That is, it's on my 5-year plan to get them to join and participate in the program. But yeah, if you know, and yeah, anybody who participates in the STARS system, it's a national database. So like my family, we vacation in Fort Myers. If I had a kid that was in the STARS program and we were in Fort Myers, when I was there, I would tell them he's STARS patient 15. And they would be able to tell their crew on the way to me that this is the kid you're going on. Ideally, big dreams and big goals. We here as the region that I work in, my goal is to have like 25 to 30% of the hospitals in FEMA Region 4 participating in STARS within the next 5 years. I would like to be able to tell you that you could put a kid in your car in Louisville and drive to Disney and be covered all the way down along the highway. Again, it's all over. And this is what, if you pull up the STARS website from your computer at the base, this is what you would see. So you could go in and you can use these patients as training. If you wanted to do a ped seizure training 1 month, you can pull your patient. They ask that you don't go in and routinely pull them open and just start going through them constantly because they are patient records. But to do trainings on them, and if it looks like you're only looking at them in groups, like for trainings, there's no problem with that. And with the stars number, so each kid gets a different, his own stars number, and stars gives you a tag that has the stars number on it. And what we are trying to figure out how to do here is to give each child some kind of identification jewelry, a bracelet, a name tag maybe for the older kids, but something that would be on them, that they could wear to school, you know, just something they would have on them all the time that has their number. And then for their house or a parent's car or their car, if they're old enough, a sticker for a window that's the STARS logo with a number inside, so that if fire is responding for a working house fire in the middle of the night, they could come up on the window and see. So dispatch would have it and let them know, but they could come up and see a sticker that tells them, hey, there's somebody in this house that is a medically complex patient. So that somebody in this house is going to need a little more help getting out. Or somebody in this wreck may have special needs for you to attend to instead of just helping them out of the car. So this is what that care plan looks like. It's really hard to see from back there, I'm sure, and I'm sorry. But you can see up there at the top is where you can see the vital signs. There's a diagnosis over on the top left, and anticipated emergencies are underneath that. Baseline findings, cautionary notes, and we put this together. Okay, so this is not on, it's not on you all, it's not on the hospital docs. We put this together. What it does though is, so the child gets referred to us, we talk to the parents, we enroll them, and then our MD at the hospital over our program will look at it and review it, and then it'll come to you as a service medical director. So if we were coming out to Dr. Thurman's area, we would get in touch with him. We'd have a meeting with him and say, we've got a kid that's coming to this, lives on this street. He's in your ride area. We need to meet with you and show you his STARS plan. At that point, we'd share the whole plan with him, and his EMS chief or whoever he wanted to invite to the table. And we'd go over it and say, is this okay? Are you comfortable with this? If he has issues with any part of it, then we go back to the drawing board. We talk to our doc again, until we can kind of come to an agreement of where do we meet, who's happy with the whole thing. Once all of that is done and approved, that becomes a living care plan for that patient. And we, as the Norton's team, will go out to his service and we will do a specific training on that child. So say it's a seizure patient that gets Keppra. We would go out and we do a 30-minute training on pediatric seizures, just in general. And then we would take 20, 30 minutes to do the rest of that as an introduction to that child. Where does he live? Where does he go to school? Where do his parents live? Is he always at mom's? Does he sometimes go to dad's? Sports he plays, where he tends to be, anything that's going to help them. And then we will go over his care plan with them specifically, so they're familiar with it. So what this gets you as an EMS service is extra pediatric training, because we're going to come out and we're going to tell you all about these kids when we identify them in your area. So again, this is just some of that awareness that comes with through the plans. So here's some patient-specific orders for seizures. So the top there's routine emergency care, special medication administrations. And some of them, if it's real bad, they'll say the parents keep Keppra. If you get there and the kid is still seizing, don't even bother with your doses of benzo. Go straight to the Keppra. You know, we understand that's not on ambulances, so that would be a thing that mom and dad keep. So the deal with that is mom and dad have to keep it wherever the kid goes, so it should go with them. And again, this is kind of what a care plan would look all laid out. So these care plans are, at a minimum, they are reviewed every 6 months. If the child doesn't go to the doctor, doesn't have an ER visit, these come up flagged in our system and say, hey, he hasn't been in and things have been smooth, but it's been 6 months since you looked at this plan. This will flag us and the STARS doc, and we'll go over it and make sure that everything's up to date. Every time the child has an incident where he is seen by EMS or comes into the ER, we'll update his plan with all his latest vitals, any medication changes or protocol changes that have happened. So why? I'm super passionate about this program. I think the why is kind of there, right? These kids are out there and they're in our community, and with the technology and the medical knowledge and equipment that we have now, we can send more kids home from the hospital that 20 years ago were sentenced to a life in a hospital or a special care facility, because we can send them home and we can train mom and dad to take care of them, and we give them hopefully a little bit better life. But with that comes that risk of we're sending them home to non-medical professionals who are caring for them. And when we send EMS to them, we're sending people who got a little bit of pediatric education and even less complex kid education, and really not any education on all of these pieces of equipment that we walk into and go, I'm not an ICU anything, and I don't know what any of this does. So again, you know, this is so that we can make our paramedics more competent and comfortable walking into these scenes. Like it says up there, our caregivers won't always be there. You know, kids may be at school. School nurses are pretty good. They've got paperwork, but they're not a substitute for a parent. Some of these kids get older and they have the ability to go out and be places by themselves, and they have those seizures. They're not going to be able to talk to us and tell us. So again, many, many reasons why this program is going to be so beneficial when we get it up and running. Of note, of interest, I think, too, from our disaster planning hats, is what this can do for your emergency managers from a planning perspective. With STARS, you can map these kids because you'll have their address, you'll have what equipment they're on. So at this point, when you're planning out what goes where in a disaster or in the aftermath, you know, if they're on electrical dependent technology, then those are houses that we want to get the electrical company back out to probably first, right? So this system will help you. It'll generate a sheet of here's where the kids are that are on vents, who are on, you know, whatever else. And you can take that and plan with your electric company. Hey, you know, if there's a disaster where the power goes out, we need to work something out to try to get to these first, or we need to be aware of this. How do we get these kids to a shelter first if power is going to be out for a while? STARS will put out some really cool reports to tell you how often you're making these kids, which ones you're making more frequently, what areas. What Norton's will do is to actually, we will share all of our run data, not patient-specific data, but where we're going, what types of patients we're making with the home program at Cardinal Glennon. And so it's they will do aggregate data from all of the sites but they'll also run our specific data to tell us in Kentucky what types of patients are we running on most, what kind of care are we giving most, and a whole bunch of other cool data that we can then use to kind of figure out how can we better serve kids across the state. So this is the team in St. Louis. Nick is there on your right. Their motto is because one kid counts. And so real quick to give you where we are in our process here. We've got a contract, it's being reviewed. The lawyers are like picking it apart, and so we get new emails and questions at least once a week. We decided to do this as a research project because STARS has never been done as a research project. So we wanted to see, is it worth the return on investment? What does it actually do? What are we seeing from it? So one of the questions that we have asked is, what will it do to scene times? And initially in these conversations, being one of the only EMS persons at the table, everyone else was talking about how this should make our scene times faster. And I said, I don't think so, y'all. I said, I think that this is going to slow our scene times down, which is a good thing, because this will enable us to slow down, provide the care that we need to provide to these children, and then transport them safely to the hospital. I said, right now what we're doing on these kids is running in, grabbing them and everything mom says they have to have, running back to the truck, throwing them in, probably wishing we weren't actually a paramedic and we could be the EMT driving, and then wishing the hospital wasn't so far away. Or again, wishing the other truck was closer or you'd called in sick. So what we expect to see is that our scene times will go up and that the crews are going to report a little more confidence and a little more comfortable feeling when they get on these scenes to truly feel like they know how to handle these cases. So what we'll be doing is sending out a survey to the EMS crew, the dispatcher, the parents, and the hospital to kind of get everybody's feel of how the run went and a comparison of how did it feel compared to runs like this before you had STARS. So initially we were hoping to start at the beginning of March, and lots of reasons that fell through, and a lot of them were just the IRB process and this contract getting signed. So now we're hoping for mid to late summer. We've been kind of talking about it across the state with EMS crews at different venues. And a lot of the crews we've talked about have been very excited about it. So that's good. I think that, they're eager for this information. And like I said, a lot of what comes with this is free pediatric SME education for your crews. And the other thing, this is going to give you all as services lots of opportunities for positive outreach in your communities. You can put out a little press release that you're starting this program, and when you get some kids involved in it, I think those families and those parents are really going to start talking about this program and how great this went. And that's what we're hearing from all these other services or all the other cities that have done this. So that's STARS. It's where we're going. Hopefully we can speed up some of these processes and get it started before the end of summer. So that's about it. And this is my information. Please email, call, reach out. Those are my two little dudes and my wife for doing all of the work I do now. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have now, or if you think about some later. Yes. Yeah, so we've talked about it, and I think there may be things, even as the program develops and moves along, that come up that we go, oh, and wouldn't think about that one, that will probably be speed dialing on with Walt's phone a lot, especially when all of it just starts ramping up. The overall idea is how do we really empower our medics and our EMS crews to truly take care of these patients without the second guessing and, you know, like having to just beat mom for all the information while mom's also freaking out because her kid's not breathing in front of her. Um, we want to let mom be mom for a minute, and we want mom to have the confidence in us when we walk in to say, you know what, I can breathe for a minute because I know they know how to take care of my kid, and we're going to go to the right spot. So as soon as all of this, as soon as a referral happens, we'll start working on it, and then we will reach out to you. Because like I said, in that process, after the docket, the hospital approves the plan, we will have to reach out because you'll be a part of that, and then we will present that plan to you, and you'll have to approve the plan also. We can't go forward with it without the medical director's approval. So we'll notify you and your chief probably first, work with you on it, and then we'll work on a time when we can come out and present that child in a training to your department. Yeah, great question. So the kids in the program age out at 21. And we've talked with Nick, and what they've always hoped is that at some point enough people see stars working for the kids and say, you know what, if we can do this for medically complex kids, we could probably do this for medically complex adults. And hopefully at some point all the medically complex folks that are living at home, we could have a little bit more information on. Yeah. So what we're seeing right now in the pediatric world is that there are a lot of things that we are doing or starting to do in the peds world that the adult world then goes, we should do that too. we I would have to check with Nick. So we don't have any here right now. But in St. Louis, they have been doing stars since 2014. And it actually started as a grassroots program that like 4 or 5 medics at one of their smaller outlying services said, we've got these couple of kids in our area and they've got all of these things going on and all this equipment when we show up, and we really need a better way to tell everybody about it than, you get the call, I hear it on the radio, so I call you real quick on my phone and I'm like, hey, that's the kid with the da 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 da, and here's what you need to do, and here's all the equipment he's on. We had one when I was at Buchel, and the only way we knew about it before we went is because the fire guy caught us as we were rolling out the door. And he said, hey, just so you know, that kid's in an apartment and his room is set up like an ICU, and as fire guys, he's like, I don't even know what he's all on, but there's like 2 bags hanging and there's some big machine in the corner. Like, I don't want to go. Call somebody else. And so again, what we want to do is prevent that. And so these couple of crews out there in St. Louis were like, that we've got to do this better. So they got permission from the parents, and they were doing it on paper. So they had a binder, and they had a binder in each truck. And the problem with paper is, you can't update it. It gets lost. Front of an ambulance, stuff gets stuck behind that seat, and like it's a black hole. That stuff never comes back. So it was actually a dispatcher who also was part-time on the ambulance that said, we could help you all with this. He said, if you just give these kids numbers, when they call in, the address will pop up and we could tell you, hey, it was in, this is in Rockcastle County, I think they said. So they were calling them rock stars. So they would say, you tell us when it comes up and it's XYZ Street, and we note that, we'll just tell you on dispatch that you're going to Rockstar 4. And so that's how the dispatch thing kind of started. And it just kind of took off, the whole program. And so they didn't really do any research. Wasn't really coordinated at that point. And that's what, Nick will tell you that was kind of his biggest regret, was they didn't really do anything to document a lot of it because it just grew and took off. But it came from grassroots paramedics doing the job. So I think that's a huge plus for it, because it was grown out of need and built around what worked. So, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, we definitely want all the air medical folks to be included and have access to it. Yes. Yep.